Okay. Everybody that's not on out there right now, please mute yourself so that there's no static or anything while I talk to start this call off tonight. Okay? What's going on out here, and we've known this for a long time, is that everything that goes on in that courthouse, it's a bank. You've got the county recorder. You've got the county auditor. You've got the county treasurer. You've got the county prosecutor. You've got the county court. You've got all the components of a bank, a governmental bank. The Constitution for each state and for the United States of America are nothing more than banking charters, a national banking charter and a state banking charter. That's what they were originally set up for. The Articles of Confederation were an initial cut at setting up a national banking charter in this country. It failed because they had to have 100% agreement between all the colonies before they could release any funds. That's why basically the colonial army basically almost starved to death because they could not get 100% agreement to fund the Continental Army. One of the states withheld because they were still trying to be in bed with England. Okay, even though they wanted independence, they were afraid that basically if they funded the army, they would be, and lost, they would be ousted by England and punished. So they didn't give their consent to fund the Continental Army. Okay? There's nothing more than banking out here. I've said this all along. The whole Bible is nothing but banking. And then all these religions are nothing but moral items to control your money. Moral issues. Trying to deceive you and keep your funds from you. All these codes of law, all these canons of law, all these bullshit, whatever out here. They're banking. They're nothing more than like overdraft charges at your local bank. You look at them cross-eyed and they're going to charge you. There had to be a way around all of this. A lot of people thought it was that OP 90 and 91 and the SF-25 form, writing bonds. No.
Put man
it's the
forward.
1455 and the 1522 forms. Everything out here is a Treasury security. Okay? They've either got our signature, our letter of credit in the process, and then placed a lien against it. So we have given and we the people are the trustees of America. We stand over these banks. We're the prime customer. The banks can't operate without us. And that's all that this is. Now, I have posted up there also an official seal from my county recorder's office.
What?
That's an official governmental banking seal. Okay?
No,
and that would be needed on the 1455 or the 1522 form. That's one of the official seals. Okay? You can also go and get a medallion from a commercial bank if you want to, because they're regulated by the state banks out here also, by the state constitutional banking authorities. But why go there when you can go to work with your county recorder or county treasurer or county auditor. They're all banking authorized representatives, and basically they have an official seal, an official banking seal. You can put any one of these into a court action, okay? Except for the Social Security, it's got to go to the federal level. DD-214 has to go to the federal level or to the Bureau of Fiscal Services. The Bureau of Fiscal Services is the independent treasury that was set up in 1920s time frame. All these bar attorneys, either sitting on the judge or sitting as a attorney, are nothing but brokers. BAR. They're broker authorized representatives. Bank authorized representatives acting as a broker. They are to broker these items. You get a tax bill for your property tax. You can fill these forms out. You can take them down to your local bank and deposit right into your account. You can take it into the court and have the court process it up through the U.S. Attorney's Office. Your traffic tickets, you turn around and you get these set up, and you get the bill paid out of the appearance bond, the signature that you gave as an appearance bond. Now, some states don't necessarily do that, but basically they are doing that in the background. They're sending you a document for that traffic ticket. Now, one of the things I've said about court actions, and I posted also a document up there about notice to official enforcement agents. If they're out there enforcing a warrant or any other, a sheriff's sale without an official seal of the court on it, it is not a valid order. Bottom line, that order had to come from a court of record. Otherwise, it was a complete fraud. We have, basically a couple of years ago, or a year or so ago, whatever, we had one of the deputies go out with a warrant to arrest this one guy. Well, he ended up getting shot and killed, and then the guy that shot and killed him got shot and killed later on when the SWAT team came in and took him out. And I'll bet you anything that that warrant that he had did not have an official seal on it. Why? Because the court does not want to be held liable for any action like that. And they knew they couldn't really put out an official item like that. It was only a banking claim. Just like an overdraft on your checking account. When the funds are sitting there in your account, you've got an insurance policy called the FDIC insurance policy against your account, but yet the bank is putting out a fraudulent claim to try and get more money out of you. And that's what half of these court actions are. They're trying to get more money for their banking court. That court here can be held liable for manslaughter. They can also, the family could turn around and go back after that bank or that court for issuing that warrant to begin with on both sides of the fence for the deputy that got killed and also for the other party if the families want to pursue it. But see, now they know what to pursue. Otherwise, they thought the government just had a free rein to do whatever they wanted to. But it's nothing, the government is nothing more than a banking house. Bottom line, just like I said, the Bible is nothing more than a banking book of just banking and unjust banking. St. Patrick drove all the snakes out of Ireland back in 3-something AD. Well, what were the snakes? The bankers. The fraudulent bankers. It's about time we drive all these fraudulent bankers out of this country, too. But you have to know what to deal with and how to set these things off. All these items are basically paid for. I've got the manufacturer's certificate of origin for my vehicle. Okay? I didn't register it with the state. That certificate I could turn around and submit into using these forms to the Bureau of Fiscal Services and get my $25,050 back because it was prepaid. Ford Motor Company went and borrowed against the assets of the we the people tariff taxes that are being held in the Federal Reserve banks. So they owe that much money back to the Federal Reserve Bank in our accounts, our off-budget accounts. Those are debts that are owed to us, we the people. The national debt is a debt that is not owed to the people of the nation on a yearly basis. It's just like the CAFR funds at the state. That is the state debt that's owed to the people. At the end of the year, that gets collapsed and put into the budget in the Federal Reserve Bank under your Social Security number or whatever in off-budget mortgaging accounts. And then they start all over again. Otherwise, these CAFR funds would be astronomical. 50 years of them adding up? Oh, yeah, right. Same thing with the national debt. They just show you the national debt for 1 year, but basically what is being held in those off-budget accounts and our accounts, our mortgaging accounts, is astronomical. This nation and most of the European nations are richer than the mind can absorb. You can take a copy of your birth certificate, fill out the form 1455, and basically the fiduciary in there is going to be your individual banker. That's why you needed to have that individual banker. You'll be processing in from your Foreign Grantor Trust with that birth certificate, and then using your fiduciary, the individual banker, and also complete the same process on the Form 1522 form. You take those down, you don't sign them, you fill out all the information up to the point to where you have to sign it, and then you take it down to your county recorder or whoever you basically are friends with. They're at the county courthouse, and you get them to sign it to complete their portion after you sign in front of them, and then make sure they put their official embossing seal on there as an official county courthouse bank officer, banking officer. You can take your Social Security card and you can process that up right into the federal district court or the federal bankruptcy court. Your federal taxes, the same way. You can process them into the federal court or into the federal bankruptcy court using these forms. These are the banking forms we need. We are not bankrupt. We don't need to fill out any of the bankruptcy forms in the bankruptcy court. These are our collection forms, processing and collection forms. You need to have a Form 56 so that it shows that you are the fiduciary over that, either via Foreign Grantor Trust EIN or over the Estate EIN person. The Social Security and most all your other instruments are under the Estate EIN person. And you're coming in claiming these basically as your estate taxes. These forms aren't that hard to figure out once you understand this. We don't send them to Milwaukee. Okay? We either take them into our court or to our federal district court or the bankruptcy court or to the U.S., our Attorney General's office. Or we send them directly to the Bureau of Fiscal Services at Parkersburg, West Virginia.
Right there.
Okay, unless you have like a Series E bond or something like that, then you would send that into Milwaukee. And everything else goes right through your local courts, and those BAR personnel in there, they are nothing more than the courthouse banking brokers. And if they don't do their job, then we will call in the federal bank investigators, the FBI. You can also call in all the inspector generals you want, because they're all banking inspector generals, depending upon their different classification of what banking instruments they're dealing with. It's all about banking. And they're fraudulent, religious, moral charges that they try and place upon us when we are not under all of these fraudulent, moral, religious laws. That was against the First Amendment. They tried to set up certain limits on terms of these banking officers by the constitutions. But see, most people don't know about this banking system, so, well, basically, having these bar attorneys in there ain't all that bad. But we need to come down upon them and hold their feet to the fire. We are the customers. We own those banks. We're the shareholders of those banks. They work for us. We can shut these banks down if we need to, or prosecute these fraudulent banking officers in the process. But you have to know what you're charging them with and who you're charging. They're just banking, governmental, constitutional banking employees. Benjamin Franklin went over to England, and basically they asked him, how can you basically operate over there in America? And Benjamin Franklin told him, we issue our own money. We don't have inflation. And see, that's what the bankers and basically all the corporations needed to do, was to control the inflation and deflation. That way they control the people. That's what our founding fathers tried to set up, was a national banking system and then state banking systems at the same time. Just banking systems. That's what Andrew Jackson tried to get rid of, was this fraudulent banking system that was allowed to come in under the second national bank, private national bank, into the country. Because Congress couldn't agree upon putting more funds into circulation. And that's what Abraham Lincoln's advisor told him. All you have to do is basically now, since basically Congress has walked out on you, all you have to do is take control and issue more greenbacks. The country, the assets of the country are behind you. Full faith and credit. The Treasury is there. More than most people will ever realize. We have 2 depositaries in this country. There are other world depositaries out there that basically we also have a claim to. But for this country, there are 2.
Which 2 are there?
One out in the East Coast, primarily controlled by Philadelphia, and then one on the West Coast. And basically that was controlled out of Kansas City. It's located down about 5 miles underground under Springfield, Missouri. I recently found out that the East Coast is somewhere located well underground under West Virginia, close to Philadelphia. That's why there's only been 2 National Treasure movies out here. One for the East and one for the West. The movies have told us a lot of things in this process. But a lot of people haven't seen this. And then a lot of people want to go along with the damn religious bullshit out here of moral laws telling people what they can and what they can't do. Well, basically, if nobody needs a driver's license, well, shit, they'd just be speeding down the road. Most okay? That's the problem.
Patrick?
Yeah.
I'm Patrick? I'm having
Yes.
trouble getting the control packet.
You're breaking up, Tom.
Pardon?
You're breaking up. I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, I can't
You got a bad connection, Tom.
Your mic is feeding back.
Get rid of that goddamn Skype and get on a fucking phone. Please. That damn Skype phone is bullshit. Okay, who's ever unmuted, please mute yourself. You've got feedback coming in. Hopefully everybody's listening to this. If not, I'm backing it up with a recording off my own computer, and I'll post this one. But that's what this is all about, this banking system. And basically the courts are nothing but banking courts. They have a charge, and we have to go in and have it discharged. And basically if they're coming in with a fraudulent charge, then basically we stand our ground and bring in the banking investigators to investigate this fraudulent banking charge that they're trying to put upon us. This fraudulent moral code. I don't belong to the Amish Church. I no longer belong to the Roman Catholic Church. I no longer belong to any religious organization that is going to try and put moral controls over me. How can a priest in the Roman Catholic Church ever know anything about marriage? They've never been married. It's ludicrous for them to basically sit and tell a married couple what they're supposed to do. That never made any sense. And see, that's what basically the churches all through the Middle Ages, they were out there controlling the money of the people. That's what the Knights Templars were against. They were trying to operate with de jure banking against all of the religious, moral banking agents out there. Please mute yourself. If you've got your mic open, please mute it. *6. Someone's got their phone unmuted. Please *6. We can hear you talking in the background. This isn't that hard to see what's going on here. Okay? All your mortgages, basically you take them into this banking court. You fill out the form 1455 and the 1522, and basically you get them under the court banking official seals, and you process them through the system. Liquidate those mortgages. Your checking account. Look at the examples that are on the form 1455. They've got checks there. Your assets that when you deposit into the local commercial bank, your assets go into an off-budget account, and then the bank turns around and writes a bank acceptance for those funds to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve sends the money over to the bank. The Federal Reserve turns around and writes bonds against your account that's held at the Federal Reserve Bank under your Social Security number, writes bonds against that, 10 times the amount of bonds, and turns around and gains an interest off of that to make up the difference and also make a profit. They're hiring your assets out for profit and for hire. That's the same thing they do with your car. When you sign over your car to the state turns around and puts it out as collateral onto the bond market. Then the state makes a profit off of it, and then basically the extra cash goes into the capital fund waiting for you to come in and collect it. But nobody has been doing the collection of their assets. Because they all thought that the government was the one that was controlling everything. That the government owns everything in this country. How damn stupid can people be? The country belongs to the people. It don't belong to the corporations. No land can really be owned by a corporation. It can only be owned by the individuals or the shareholders of that corporation. The living shareholders. Corporations are nothing but a constructed house of cards, and they can always be collapsed. All the different banking houses down through the ages, the Medes, Persians, the Babylonians, the Egyptians, you name it, the Incas, the Aztecs, all these religious banking houses have all collapsed over time. Because of their fraudulent banking practices that they have put and tried to control the people and deprive the people from their just assets that basically they were supposed to have all the way back to basically giving Adam control over the earth. We are the descendants of Mother Earth. She is our mother. We came from the ground and we're going back to the ground.
Yeah.
That is the only debt that we have, is we owe our body back to Mother Earth. Everything else, we have right of usage of it while we are standing above ground. The ground is to support us. We're not standing on quicksand here. And all these house of cards, these corporations, they will fail at one point or another. Just look at some of the big ones. Enron totally went under, basically because of fraudulent monetary practices that they were operating with. But there's a whole list of them out here about these corporations that have overstressed their usefulness, trying to make a profit for the powers to be at the upper level. Hillary and most of the damn politicians out here are just banking fraud people out here trying to rip the banks off. When do the people say enough is enough? You can take this document that I put up there about the notice of the seal into your sheriff's office. You can take these Form 56, or 56, the Form 1455, and the 1522 forms, and explain them to the sheriff. Say, here, you want to set off your mortgage? I'll help you. You need to get 3 EINs. An estate, a foreign grantor trust, and an individual banker. You set up your own private bank. You don't need these other fraudulent bankers that are charging and using your money and depriving you of your real assets. Turn around and do it like what happened in the French Revolution, when all the military turned around and switched sides and went over to back the people against the monarchy that was controlling the country. It was a banking revolution. The same thing happened here in this country. The American Revolution was a banking revolution against the fraudulent English banking system, banking houses. And most of the church banking houses that were also here. That's why it took them a little time to try and get everything straightened out, because they had to go against, like the Penn in Pennsylvania, the Penn Trust, that Penn Banking House, the New England, out of Massachusetts, the Roman Catholic Banking House. That's what was really taking place with the Declaration of Independence and with the Articles of Confederation and then the Constitution of this country. They were trying to adjust and get to a just banking system here in this country. And see, most of these bar attorneys, they have no idea. Most of these local counties, they really don't. But that court, basically that county prosecutor and the court, basically are working for the Attorney General's office of the state. And I'll tell you, that Attorney General's office definitely knows about these forms, because all of their agents that are working in the Attorney General's office are brokers. I've proven that. I've seen their titles that these agents up there at the Attorney General's office here in the state of Iowa have. They're brokers. I know a little more about this brokerage system than most people, because I went and took the commodity brokers test and basically passed the Series 7 test. I could basically process securities if I went and got fulfilled the rest of my license requirements. I never did, but as a Series 7, I still wouldn't have had the authority to use the official seal or the medallion seal of that brokerage house. That would have had to gone up the ladder to at least a Series 10 broker. You run into some problems with some of these people. You don't argue at the bottom level. You try and go to the official of that office. You go to the bank. You don't argue with the clerk at the counter. You get a banking account manager or whatever in there. The clerks don't know what's going on. This is all the secret banking system in this country. But keep it simple. Okay. Go ahead and star 6 and unmute yourself if you have a question. And I'll try and give you the answer.
Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, Patrick. This is Burdell. Can you hear me? Hello, Patrick.
Speak up.
Yeah, Patrick. My name is Burdell. I used to follow you back in the Dr. Field days.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry that he didn't make it this far. I wish he would have.
Yeah, I know.
He was a great loss.
Yeah, no. I used to follow you diligently back in those days. And Tom is the one that brought me back into the group. So anyway, the question that I have for you is, so you're saying that, I wanted to know, is the GSA forms used at all in this process? Is it applicable?
No.
Okay.
You don't need them. You just need these 2 forms right here. When you look at them, you'll see that this covers everything that we need to have.
Okay. That answers that question. So it's good to be back.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay,
And
pass
Patrick,
the word.
Yeah. Yes, we're doing that here. Patrick, I was distracted trying to get logged into the control panel. My computer was giving me problems. So I didn't catch exactly where do we take this to get the medallion on it?
You don't get a medallion. You get an official seal, okay, from either one of the banking offices in the county courthouse.
Okay.
The county auditor's office, the county treasurer, the county recorder, the clerk of the court. Basically, there's several that have official office seals that basically can put and verify your signature and put an official banking seal on that document out of that courthouse, which is really the county banking house, the county constitutional government banking house.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
That's all that the courthouse is. It's a banking house. Look at it.
Okay.
They issue securities right out of the recorder's office.
Every day.
Yes. So if they're issuing securities, they've got to be operating as a banking office.
Hey, Patrick.
Yes.
Where did you say to send the fiscal services? What cities were those?
It's on the form 1455 on page 5.
Okay.
But
Okay.
in most cases, you're going to go right to your courts. Okay?
And just turn it over there?
Huh?
And just turn it over to them?
Yes. Process it in. Say here.
Great. Well, that speeds things up. Okay.
What is the clerk of the court at the bank?
Yeah,
What do you do with a deposit slip at the bank? You give it to the clerk, the teller. You tell them what you want.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Yeah, see, that clerk of the court is the official cashier or clerk, the teller at the window for this bank, for this county bank. then they would have to take it to the prosecutor and have the prosecutor basically process it through the system.
Okay, good. Boy, this really simplifies it. Wow.
Patrick, you said that these forms can be deposited into the bank.
You can also take and have them directly deposited into the bank, okay? Once you get this all filled out and have the bank run it through the system, the commercial bank, and have it deposited in your account. Okay? We heard results, or we heard different people out here over the years. One guy said, hey, I love to get traffic tickets. He takes them up to the clerk of the court and basically is able to walk out of there with funds in his back pocket. Well, that's because they turn around on most traffic tickets and they have an appearance bond. You're cashing that bond in with this process. They take out the funds for the charges and give you the residue of that bond. So he had to be using the Form 1455 and the 1522 form to make this work. We heard one other guy took his county property taxes and deposited them into his local bank account. Then from there, he was able to go back and only pay the taxes that he wanted to pay. But he had to fill out a Form 1420 or 1455 and a 1522 form and give those over to the commercial bank and have them process it through the system. They are now the distributee. They would have to fill out also a W-9 form in the process of completing the transaction. Read the instructions on these forms.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And in most cases, like in Part A, reason for distribution, you have obtained the age of majority, attainment of majority. You mark box other.
Oh, that's 14. That's on 1455?
Yes. Under Part A, reason for distribution, you mark the box other, and then you put in such as attainment of majority. You're over the age of 21.
All right, got it.
See, all these damn penal colony jails and everything out here, they're all operating in fraud, banking fraud, the Jezebel banking fraud, or religious banking fraud. The Inquisition. Yeah, we're going to burn witches at the stake today.
Oh.
I mean, that's what all this bullshit, religious charges and everything are all about.
What about these witches in their black robes sitting up there on the bench?
They are brokers, BAR. They have to broker these accounts. You give them these forms, now they have to settle the matter. Case closed. You are a trustee over these governmental banks. Now, can they charge you with contempt? Hell no. I've told the judge that, and basically he shut the hell up. He wasn't going to touch that. Because I'm the shareholder of this bank. I'm the owner of this bank. He is just a broker of that account.
So if we have an ongoing case, we can just fill this out and hand it over to the judge.
Yes, and settle the matter.
Okay.
But you have to get it properly sealed and everything, and always back up a copy of this in case you have to send and report the banking fraud into the Inspector Generals or to the FBI
So in
or
that
to the Secret Service.
So in that case, we should go to the clerk of court first and get it sealed, 2 copies, and then
Or go to the county recorder, or go to the county treasurer, or go to the county auditor. Any one of those guys has an official seal.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I showed you what the county recorder's seal looks like. In the middle of it, it says official seal. Then around the outside, it says county recorder. You go over to the county auditor's office, it's going to have around the outside county auditor and then Keokuk County, Iowa. But in the middle, it's going to say official seal.
Okay.
Same thing for the treasurer. So you've got numerous different places you can go to right there in that county courthouse banking house.
Good. And that's even for a federal case. We get it recorded as a
That's
county.
good for any case.
Right, okay. Record it at the county and turn it into the feds.
Yeah, and basically, but you keep your state items at the state level.
Right.
Okay? Unless the state does not comply, then you call in the Inspector Generals, the banking Inspector Generals, and basically they've got 3 banking days, court banking days to process these items.
Hold that.
See, the courthouses normally aren't open on Saturday or Sunday.
Right.
Patrick, do you think you're going to put up examples of your forms, like as you filled them out as we've done before?
Yes, I'll probably post them up. But, I mean, basically, you people ought to be able to figure this one out. This is really not that hard.
Yeah, I think I have.
I posted up the Form 56 already up there, okay, about how to get that filled out. You need to do, I did do one for the estate. You need to do one for the Foreign Grantor Trust. But you need to have all 3 of those EINs. The Foreign Grantor Trust EIN, the Estate EIN, and then the Individual Banker EIN. The EIN is not for your private bank. It's for your individual banker in your private bank.
Right.
And in your private bank, you cannot turn around and play their game of usury. You do not take your funds and turn around and go out there and start buying up 90-day bonds or anything like that. You get in and you start playing their system again, and they will take you down and because now you are operating against them in the process, and you will basically end up in hot water than you are right now. The devil loves to burn people up. If you have access to basically almost an unlimited source, why would you want to turn around and try and screw over your neighbor by going out and using insurance policies and interest bonds and everything else? That is a destructive item. That's what the founding fathers tried to prevent in this country. That's why insurance was kept out of this country until the late 1800s, after they killed Garfield. That's when they brought the insurance in.
Would that be underneath our corrected name, which is last name, middle name, first name, or is it under the Social Security name, like, just how it is on, our EIN?
What name?
Is it our corrected name?
What name are you talking about?
I'm talking about the corrected way that it's supposed to be done, which is last name, semicolon, middle name, and first.
No. Last name is your mortmain account that basically is, most all of these documents are being held in a mortmain account, and that one starts off last name first. Okay, that's a dead man's account. Cemetery, when you go to the cemetery, you always go in there and you find out where the family plot's at. So you're looking for the last name first, then you find the individual in that family plot.
Yes, that's correct.
Your operation out here, you have a fictional person that's going to be working for you. You're going to start off first name, middle name, last name.
Gotcha.
Or family name. Really. You don't have a last name.
Gotcha.
Okay?
And the individual banker is signing these forms.
Yes.
Yes. Under his individual banker's EIN, which basically he is an employee of your private bank.
Gotcha.
Operating as a tax-exempt bank, not for hire and not for profit. That's basically what we set up when we got that individual banker's EIN. He is not to be hired out. Therefore, after that, you can turn around and get an ID from the state under your individual banker's EIN, and they can't charge that individual.
Wow.
And everything should be put under that individual banker, correct?
Everything is bought under by your individual banker and under your private bank. All your property now belongs to your private bank.
So say,
the
for
state
instance,
cannot tax or control a private bank.
So, for example, I'm just going to throw this out here. If you bought a car within the last couple months, you would go back and you would change your paperwork into the individual banker's EIN.
You would have to turn around and make a bill of sale and sell that car over to your individual banker, and the individual banker would be the one buying the car for your private bank.
Gotcha.
It would be registered. It would be basically signed over as basically the buyer of that is your individual bank, care of your individual banker. Okay. And then you would take that certificate, that state certificate of title, and cash that in. That is a security. That is a marketable security. read the definition about marketable title in Valentine's Dictionary. That's why everything that we have is basically a marketable security. It's not any of those items that go up to Milwaukee. Unless you have a triple E bond or something like that, then you would send that up to Milwaukee.
Okay.
But everything else we have is a marketable security. You get a tax lien. It's a marketable security. It's a lien. You have to perfect the lien and claim those funds. You attach that, you do an endorsement of it, and put it with this and claim that funds to be processed through the bank, the governmental bank, either the state or the federal banking system.
Patrick, have you figured out what the endorsement is going to be?
With what?
Have you figured out what the endorsement is going to be? Is it going to be paid to the order of yada yada private?
You would do a special endorsement for the payment to be made over to your individual banker.
Okay.
Per the attached forms, the 1455 and the 1522. I put that statement on the back there too, per the attached forms, so that you tie everything together.
And we have to fill out both forms for each transaction?
Huh?
We have to fill out both forms for each transaction?
Yes, you have to have both forms.
Okay. I thought
The
they had
1522 is basically your depositing form.
Okay.
Where do you want the money sent? It's not on
Okay.
the 1455. Look at them.
Right, okay, distribution and payment. I got it, okay.
Patrick, are we going to put the individual banker's EIN in that endorsement or Social Security? Like you say,
You
if it was
put
no tax.
your individual banker. You want it tax exempt.
Okay.
Okay.
Why would you want to use a dead man? A mortmain. That's what you're trying to get rid of.
Yeah.
You're trying to dig up the dead and make it used up here in the living world.
I get it. The way you just answered that, it makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of people are going to hear that in the recording. And that's going to make a difference in their understanding.
Yes, you use that individual banker's EIN from now on. Okay, that's what puts you into the tax exempt status.
So that being said, it sounds like our other accounts, like cell phone accounts, things like that, should be moved into that individual banker account.
Yes, you can go in and terminate your basic commercial bank account using this same form and basically get the funds that are held off budget in there sent back to you. See, the bank don't use your funds when you deposit the funds into the bank, unless you've got a non-interest bearing checking account, and basically to where they can't use your funds in the account. Then basically they are using them, but they're putting them in an off-budget account that you don't know about. That's what you have to come in and claim all of that. So yes, you would have to cash in all your checking accounts, savings accounts, and everything, and liquidate them.
But if we already have them as non-interest bearing, which I do, then we don't necessarily have to cancel them right now.
I would not right away, but if you've got your Direct Express card, I would find out what the bank routing number for the, call up the Social Security and find out what the bank routing number is for that Direct Express card.
Okay, and
you also get a Treasury Direct card.
Okay.
And have your credits deposited into those cards. Those are Treasury cards by way of the Department of the Treasury.
So we're not looking for a postmaster debit card then?
No, not right now. Basically, they've merged everything over into this Treasury departments. The IRS, the Treasury Department, and then the Department of the Treasury. That's where everything has got to be processed through now.
Okay.
Now, look at the examples on these forms. Why do they have a check listed there? Because you can go in against your whole checking account.
Say that again.
Basically, any check that you wrote, they did not use the assets that you had on deposit.
Right.
They borrowed the money from the Federal Reserve by way of placing a banker's acceptance and having bank borrowing from the Federal Reserve and then having bonds issued, and that is what's paying you, just like a W-4 form for employment.
Well,
you
Patrick,
basically authorized that company to go out and borrow, do a trade acceptance with the Federal Reserve Bank to borrow the money to pay you, and then the Federal Reserve is out there writing bonds to recuperate the funds that they just loaned out and also make a profit.
Hey, Patrick, I understand what you're saying, but my question is, why do they make it look like they took the money out of your account to pay the transfer for the check if they borrowed the money from somewhere else?
Because they don't want you to know how the system or the game is played. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They don't want you to know how the game is rigged. Just like playing blackjack, taking insurance. Basically, the odds are 14.5 against you, percentage-wise. That means roughly only 1 out of 7 times, basically, will the dealer ever have blackjack, while you have a blackjack.
I think some of those accounts might be bonded more than once. It's like when I got a checking account, you sign a card, and then when you get a debit card, you sign another. They wanted me to sign another card. So I think they go and insure that too, or go borrow against that too.
In some cases, yes. Okay?
I think you might be right.
Because they called me back into the bank to sign a form to get the debit card. I mean, I was going to get it.
Get another. So they basically, in a lot of cases, the debit cards are nothing more than like a credit card. And basically, the credit cards basically had a signature loan or letter of credit on them of about $2 million.
Well, what if they send you the debit card in the mail? Is it still...
You're going to close these things down, okay? Get rid of them.
Okay.
Okay. You can't operate with a foot in both worlds. You either operate in the de jure or you stay in their world and die.
Patrick?
Yes.
Hi. Since you're speaking about the bank accounts, what if it's a closed account? Can you go back?
What's that?
If it's a closed banking account, can you go back?
Yeah, you used to deal with
You
all
can
that.
basically put a charge in and see what happens. Put that in through the bankruptcy court.
Okay.
If it's a state bank, I'd process that one directly up to the Attorney General's office.
So you're saying bypass the bankruptcy court and just go to the Attorney General's office?
No, if it's a state bank, then I would go to the Attorney General's office. If it's a national bank, I would go to the bankruptcy court,
Okay.
the federal district court. You start down this path and start using these forms, and basically you're going to get a visit from somebody out of here in the de jure banking system. So you better know what you're talking about.
Oh, sure. Definitely.
Okay?
Who do you think it will be, Patrick? Will it be the Treasury?
I don't know who it's going to be. Could be God himself come down from Neverland. Okay? Come on, people.
Okay, all right.
Think before you speak, please.
All right. I got you. All right.
Okay. Use common sense. That's what you're supposed to be born with, was some common sense.
That's right.
I don't know if the question that I'm about to ask has already been answered because I came in just a little bit late, but we are going to be using the Form 56s for each EIN. Is that correct?
56F.
You basically have to do a Form 56 for your Foreign Grantor Trust EIN, to where your individual banker is basically the fiduciary. And then the same thing for your estate EIN. See, when you terminate, when you put the estate in, you basically took control within the estate of all your estate items that are operated under the Social Security number.
Right.
Okay? You basically declared that guy dead.
Yes.
And see, the IRS did that for me after I talked to them for about a half hour, and basically they turned around and they went and got my estate EIN because I said, hey, that's a dead Mortimain person. You got his name in all capital letters. That ain't living. That's a dead person. And the IRS agent or department head or whatever there in Atlanta, Georgia, turned around, contacted Cincinnati, and basically Cincinnati sent me an estate EIN. When you explain things the right way and don't lose your cool, basically people will hear you.
You're right about that.
Same thing in these courts. And basically when you understand that most all of this stuff in these courts are fraudulent banking charges, moral issues, and everything out here, the court has to dismiss those moral charges. Because you're operating in a different set of laws for your religion. You're operating under the just religion, and they're operating under this fraudulent religion, and basically their religion really doesn't have control over you. They didn't have the right to any of the amendments after the 15th Amendment. All those amendments are frauds. All the codes of law are frauds. All these codes are nothing but moral laws. Shit, they write 80,000 sometimes a year new laws.
No.
What the shit's going on here? Moses only gave out 10. Jesus cut it down to 2.
Mm.
The Constitution basically kept it to almost none. And gave us 10 to protect our rights from them, from the bankers. Those are our 10 banking protections.
Patrick, you had said
Yes.
we could go into court and ask if the court is valid. Should we do that also, or just turn in these SAR?
It all depends on where you're standing in the court. You turn around, you put these things in there, and then basically, but any other item, you always find out, is this a court of record?
Okay.
If it's a court of record, for any order that comes out of that court, it has to be under an official seal. Before any order, an order to dismiss or anything like that, if they send out just a signature of the judge to dismiss this case, that is a fraud. That was never a court of record. Or if it was a court of record, that judge is operating in fraud. He can't dismiss a case. If it was a court of record case, he can't dismiss it just by a signature. Read the definition about official seal or seal of the court. It has to have an embossment.
Got it.
Yes, see, we can start controlling these guys. They will run for the hills when they know that the people are starting to stand up against them. They will now have to operate as just bank exchangers, brokers. That's all that court is a brokerage court, settlement court.
I have a question, Patrick. So
yes,
these documents that we do, can we file them directly into a case?
Yes.
Okay.
After you get them sealed.
Right.
After we get them sealed. Okay.
At the county.
I would do it to the county. You can always take it to a commercial bank, but I like the county seal better.
Okay.
Because it's raised. And then basically, if nothing else, you get one of these thumpers. Even if they don't use it, you can always take it home and put the thumper over and make it highlighted a little more. Like what I did, I put a Skype example of my county recorder's official seal that I got on my DD-214. I knew that county recorder was going to have a big hand in what I wanted to do.
Now,
and these girls love me there, too.
Okay, we're not filing it at the county recorder. We're just asking them to process the document.
You just basically go in and get the seals from them.
Okay.
You get them to verify your signature. And then they officially seal that as a banking document.
Okay.
That's all these are. These are banking documents. Department of the Treasury and Bureau of Physical Services. The Bureau of Physical Services is the independent Treasury that was set up in 1920. Or thereabouts. I know I found that in the statutes at large if you look for it. Any other questions?
So in this process, we also use the, you mentioned the DD.
No, that's for military, D-214.
The DD-214. Okay.
That's
If you have a DD-214, you can do an endorsement the same way you would do a birth certificate. On the back side, you would have to identify how much you're coming in to do a draw using that instrument. See, that is a claiming instrument for your military bounty.
Okay, that's for military people. That's for veterans?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, basically an honorable discharge. And basically after 2 years, you should have a DD-214, honorably discharged. Or after 4 years, you would get your first DD-214. Okay? But you're only obligated to serve 2 years, and then basically in honor, and then after that, you had a claim against the land, the American land out here, and that's what we are. We're the trustees of the American land, of the Americas. The corporations are not the trustees of the land. The land belongs to the people. But these fraudulent bankers try and fraudulently claim control of it, like those guys out in Oregon. If those guys out in Oregon really knew the banking process of what I'm talking about here, they could have shut that damn thing down in a heartbeat by going to the bank, the constitutional banks, and putting a stop to the fraudulent bankers. People just don't know how much power they have in operating in the de jure system here, under the de jure banking system of this country. Bring the just banking system back. Then you will have your remedies.
So the emancipation orders that needed to be put through with the SOS are no longer needed because the Form 56 is already released.
It's good information to have, okay?
Okay.
Helps you understand this whole process. Everything that I've done in the past basically has a good point of reference.
Yep.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything that I have done that wasn't useful in coming to this conclusion.
Right.
It helped in every way possible.
Yeah, I remember you talking about these forms back in the day.
Back in 2010.
Yeah. Your original group.
Yeah, I was either under the OID or under the 1099A group that I had.
That is it. That's the one that I was a part of back in the day.
Yeah. And see, basically, that I was sending those items up to Milwaukee and basically wasn't getting any response out of them. In some cases, they sent them back because that wasn't the place that they needed to go to. We needed to go to our local banks, our courthouse banks, either at the state, for the state bank, or for the national bank, or to the Bureau of Physical Services. Directly to them, to the Treasury, the independent Treasury, the independent private Treasury.
Yeah, I had printed out your entire close it down process that you used to talk about, and you had those forms in there.
Yeah, but see, I was sending at that point in time, like I said, I was sending them to the wrong place.
Right. Okay.
Right. So I was going to ask, like, the SOS is no longer needed at this point.
What?
The Secretary of the State, he's no longer needed at this point.
Well, he's in the state banking charter. Okay, he's an officer of the state bank.
Okay.
Yeah, he issues out those certificates under seal. See, that certificate of live birth is under the seal of the state, the great seal of the state.
Right.
Who controls the seals? The Secretary of the State. He even controls the county seals. And then they also control all the notaries. We don't need a notary. We need an official bank representative to sign these forms. This is not a notary.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You don't have to have, basically look at it, okay?
Says no notary allowed.
Right. It says it right there, official seal.
I certify that this person appeared whose identity is known or proven to me, personally appeared before me this day of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, under a notary, you've got to have like a driver's license or something in there.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have a public document, a picture identification. They're not going to record that here. You could bring two witnesses in if you need that. But basically, you should be able to get an identification card, even if you don't have a driver's license. For $5 or $10, you should be able to get an identification card from the state, a picture ID.
Question.
Or you get, like, I have a VA card.
Oh, wait.
With a picture on it. You have a picture, your working identification card. It doesn't restrict these guys to what item needs to prove your identity.
They need something with a picture on it.
Maybe.
You'll just have to play it and basically see how they operate.
Right.
All right.
Hell, if you take your damn tax form in there, basically for the county or whatever, and get the county treasurer to sign this, they're probably going to just use you from that, you holding that county property tax.
Or maybe
that will
even
be the identity that they have proven that you are who you say you are. Think about it, people. That don't argue with them, okay? Find out what they want.
Okay.
Play the game. Don't get thrown out of the game until you win the game. Don't come in as a belligerent. You walk into the bank with a chip on your shoulder, and basically the bank guard will probably throw you out. Okay, anybody else? Okay, we got an hour and a half in here, Tom. Basically, if nobody else has anything, basically go ahead and call tonight.
Okay, thank you very much, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick.
Really the work.
Okay.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye.
Sure.